So, hello everyone, welcome to Babylon Tomb. Here's another one concerning again the scandal in Canada in Kamloops that there were 215 kids found dead in a Catholic institution there. So, the Pope just apparently did his homily in the Vatican and he didn't apologize. And the scandal right now is that he didn't apologize. So, even if he did, would you accept his apology? I mean, we're talking here about a pedophilic, homosexual, terrorist institution that has last hundreds of years, over 1,000 years. And we know that this institution, for the last 100 years, we have ample evidence that it's a terrorist organization from top to bottom. Will your government declare war against the Pope? I don't think so. I don't think so. Trudeau is asking for an apology as if it would do any difference. No, what we should do here at the Catholic Church, we should charge them, illegalize this terrorist organization, in the same fashion that we illegalized the how do you call it, the Al Qaeda. It's a terrorist organization. You know, they never lack any funds, and they keep this terrorist organization alive. They keep it alive, and they make sure that the priest from the next door, the priest next door, is the perfect raper for your children. And you don't seem to care. The Canadians are dumbed down today. Particularly the men's are chicken littles. They are really chicken littles. They don't say nothing. They don't do nothing. They don't shout on the rooftop that this is a terrorist organization. I mean, will you have to wait for your child to be sodomized by one of those priests before you react? I think so. I think so. We're there. We're there. And just to hear, he said that the Pope met with two cardinals here, Michael Zerny and Marc Ouellet, which is a Jesuit. He is on the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. He has a seat on the board there. So if he has a seat on the board, means that he is a Jesuit. This guy from, I think it's from Amos in Quebec, northern Quebec. He's a real good little Satanist, you see, like all of them. Those cardinals, they're all Satanists. I mean, they're all there with the Vatican Mass there, where the Vigil Mass, where they sing a hymn to Lucifer, and they say that Lucifer is the father of Jesus. That's what they say in Latin. The Vigil Mass, look it up. I think I'm gonna copy it here on my channel. Those guys are Satanists. And the fact that you can see all those murders committed by this church, you know, the gorilla in the room, the 800 pounds gorilla in the room, is really the satanic ritual abuse, because we don't know how those kids were murdered. It's likely that they were just, I don't know how they were murdered, but it's likely that they were just murdered in a satanic ritual, because we know that the Jesuits have created Freemasonry. It's obvious. I mean, you can read that in the book The Mass and its Mystery by Jean-Marie Ragon. It's a French Freemasons, and those French Freemasons have usually a higher degree of understanding than those American Masons, if you read those books. But from Jean-Marie Ragon, it says that the G in the middle of the logo of the Masons signify Superior General. Now we know that the Superior General is the Jesuit order. And Elena Blavatsky says that the Jesuits have created Freemasonry, most of the rites of Freemasonry. And she says also that it's the body of men that have committed the most. They have their reputation, those Jesuits, because they're the body of men that have practiced the most in the entire world black magic. And black magic is described clearly in the book of Magic's and Theory and Practice of Aleister Crowley, where you see that really magics is the harvest of energy. And they harvest energy by doing satanic rituals with animals or with little boys, preferably little boys, and girls also. But as for what I studied, it seems that they have more energy. It's more appropriate for whatever god to sodomize them before you kill them. And so this is exactly the Catholic Church. This is a copy paste of what's happening here in Kamloops. This is it. Guys, the Bible describes clearly the Catholic Church. Babylon is the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. But the Protestant Church, I think, is a secondary figure of Babylon. The main figure of Babylon is the Catholic Church. And here it says that it's an habitation of devils. I mean, think about it, guys. I mean, think about it. Try to take a 40,000 foot view here. I mean, how would God, if, mankind has become absolutely stupid, as it is right now, how would God will have to show his people, the people who believes in him, that this church is absolutely bad, sinful, and satanic? You would have to show scandals just as we have today. And so that when you read your Bible, you would say, yeah, well, the Methodist Church is not that good, but the Catholic Church, man, that we can say that's a habitation of devils, You would say that, the Jehovah's Witness, well, it's not that good, but, yeah, well, they're zealed and they seem to love the Lord. But, I mean, how can you compare that? And how can you treat one of those Jehovah's Witness that goes door to door and try to speak with you about Jesus? Most people would say, well, they're awkward and I don't like them and I don't care about them personally, but I know most people would say, they're awkward and they're a little bit crazy, Okay, let's say that you're right. I'm not in agreement with that statement, but let's say you're right. How can you compare those guys that have their faith, which is not mine? I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. And how can you compare that with the Catholic Church? I mean, come on now. If you said they're weird, those Jehovah's Witnesses that go door to door, sometimes with their kids, how can you compare that? I mean, how can you compare that to the murdering of 215 kids? And that's only one place. I mean, we are not talking about what happened here. I mean, in Quebec City, many people were affected, raped by the priests of that organization. In Quebec, they called them the main things that went out in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s were the orphans of Duplessis. Duplessis was a prime minister there in the 40s, 1940s, 50s. And he was a real staunch Catholic, and he dedicated the entire province to Mary. And even he organized with, I believe, the Cardinal Gibbons, one of the cardinal in the United States that play a key role for the Catholic infiltration of that country. So the Cardinal Gibbon from the U.S. came here to Canada, and they dedicated the entire country to Mary. They did national processions and all that. So I believe that this was the signal in the 40s and 50s that Canada was literally taken over by the Catholic Church. And and you had the Vatican Council afterwards, and the church really changed. They put a mask on, and they became Masonic and Jesuit. From that, that's my opinion, at least. But how can you compare a Jehovah's Witness with those murderers? I mean, if you're if say that say the Seventh Day Adventists, if you say those guys are just crazy, right? Well, if you say I'm crazy, I have all the right in the world to think I'm crazy. But how could you compare me and my faith with that of the Pope and its vassals? How can you how on what scale can you imagine that you can compare my faith or Jehovah's Witness or whatever, whatever sect, it's even, it's child play compared to what they do there at the Catholic Church. And yet we hear no indignation whatsoever. The Prime Minister is asking for an apology. And the Pope says, well, we must forgive and all that. Well, no, we're not obliged to forgive. This is a terrorist organization. The Catholic Church is the largest terrorist organization on the planet. By far, they killed millions of people. Hitler was really the paper boy of the papacy, because the Third Reich refers to the fact that he wanted to rebuild the Holy Roman Empire. The Reich is a kingdom in German, and the kingdom he wanted to react was the Holy Roman Empire. He was a child of the papacy. He was a Jesuit Freemason, such as Mussolini, such as Churchill, such as Franklin Delano Roosevelt. All of them are Jesuit Freemasons. And the government is all controlled by them. Just take on here Marc Ouellet, a Jesuit. He was here bishop, I think, of the region here in Quebec City. He's never he's never had anyone in prison, one of his priests, who sodomize kids, your kids. He was in charge of, those guys, those priests. And there was no scandal. I mean, you have one pedophile after another there in the Catholic Church, and yet so little people seems to be scandalized by it. The Catholic Church, this guy there is the emperor of the world. It's what he is. The canon law says that he can be judged by no one. And do you see him judged right now? No. He's not. Yet his organization has committed a crime. If Coca-Cola kills 10 people because a recipe went bad, you see, they're gonna take the company to court, and they're gonna say, you're a criminal organization because you killed people, and they're gonna be big expense to be paid by this company. And there's a chance that this company is going to be just destroyed, depending on what happened. That the government will say, well, this company needs to stop. I mean, that's it. You had your chance. And yet the Pope seems to have some kind of bridge there where he's judged by no one, just as the canon law says, right? So you see the Prime Minister of the world, like Trudeau and Legault. Legault's obvious that he's a Freemason, but most of, John Quincy Adams in 1832 said the entire government of the United States was infiltrated by the Freemasons. It's what he said, nearly 200 years ago. How much more today? And if it was the case in the United States, the foremost Protestant country on the planet, where they claim to listen to the Bible, how much more to a country that secularized itself, like Canada, like Britain, and so forth. So those guys, they are not going to go in court. They're not going to end up in jail. The Catholic Church is above the laws of the land, and it's going to stay that way. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, because, that guy there in Ontario, a Seventh-day Adventist, deputy there at the parliament, a member of parliament. What's his name again? Derek Sloan. It's gonna be interesting to see what he's going to say about that church, because if he's a Seventh-day Adventist, he knows that he knows that the second angel's message is exactly that. You saw Revelation 14. Babylon is fallen because he's made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So this is the message of Babylon. This is the same thing we just seen. And so this is us Seventh-day Adventists. We claim that the message that we have to proclaim the end times right now is those verse there. Whoops, just lost them. So give glory to God because the hour of his judgment is come. So the message of the first angel, the message of the second angel, which is Babylon is fallen, it's church and state. And the third angel is, if any man worship the beast, which is the Pope, and the image of the beast, which is the apostate Protestant church, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, which is Sunday law, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, and so forth. So those people are basically lost. So the Seventh-day Adventists, basically their mission, our mission, is to proclaim the message of the first, second, and third angel, which is Revelation 14, 7, 8, 9. And this member of parliament has a great opportunity right now to say Babylon is fallen. Will he do it? Will he say that the Pope needs to be translated, needs to be judged in court? Will he say that Canada needs to go at war with the Vatican because it protected all the priests, the sodomites and rapers of the world under the guise of being a Christian church? Will he say that? I mean, this Derek Sloan, will he take a stand here? I don't think so, guys. I just don't think so. Because I don't think so. He's had his chance. He ran to head the Conservative Party. He had the podium there. He could have made a statement there. He didn't. He just choked. Yet he concentrated on trying to have Theresa Tam fired, which is a good thing. But the main thing that we need to say right now is that it's the end of the world. The judgment is come for God, right? The hour of the judgment of God is come. We're going to be judged in the courts of heaven. And that Babylon is fallen. The Catholic Church has become a habitation of devils. And that the nation are in bed with her. And it's going to receive the wrath of God after the Sunday law. That's it. That's the message we need to say right now. And to use those facts that God provides to us to help us getting the message of the three angels out, particularly the second angel here. And he helps us. God is helping us. He's using, secular people and maybe Christians, I don't know who's using, but he's using many things, many people to try to have the sins of Babylon laid open. And when God won't have any other sins to be laid out for us to wake up to the fact that this is Babylon and this is a satanic church, well, it's going simply to mean that it's game over. Time's up. The plagues are next. And so you better wake up now, guys, before it's all over and done. I pray that this is the first event. Well, there's been many events over the last 20 years. But I pray that this event there, the murder of those poor childs, is the first of a series of indignation that will wake up the dear people, Church of God, which are in many churches right now, many denominations, and that they will decide to join the ranks of the doctrine of the Seventh-day Adventists that says all those things about the Sunday law, about the Catholic Church being Babylon, about the Jesuits being evil men, about the fact that the secret societies are headed by the Jesuits, and they're all satanic, and that's a fact. I pray that, it's a first event, first event that'll help you to realize how wicked this church is. On that, God bless you.